hardest series of boss battles I've ever had to face. In a Nuzlocke, if a Pokemon faints, it's dead forever, and I can only catch one Pokemon per route. The rest of the rules for this playthrough are shown here and in the description down below. But without any further ado, it's time for the most grueling journey through the Kalos region you've ever seen. Let's get started. As my French adventure begins, I'm faced with the most important decision of the entire game, my nickname. The possibilities are endless, but I didn't spend 4 years getting a PhD to not be annoying about it, so I ask, nay, I insist that my rivals call me Dr. One Ball. With the formalities out of the way, I pick up my starter, Froakie. Though all of the Kalos starters are pretty solid, Froakie is far and away the best choice, as you'll soon see. But for now, Hermes and I have some teammates to catch. Starting first with the guaranteed encounter on Route 1, a Torchic. With Speed Boost, holding a Blazikenite. Caught with one ball, by the way. I named sweet little Torchic a Poyo, and then we're off to Santaloon Forest, a rich biome filled with dozens of rare and incredible Pokemon. But I get a pantsier. Wonderful. After arriving in Santaloon City, I head to Route 22, where I catch a Psyduck named Poseidon. I've decided to delay the encounter on Route 3 for reasons that will become apparent later, but that means I only have 4 Pokemon on my team to face off against the first gym leader, Viola. Since this is a ROM hack, she's already got a full team of 6 Pokemon, and while her bug types might not look like much at first glance, the low level cap of 17 and their stacked movesets makes this a hell of a first battle. So much so that there are actually patches of this game that specifically nerf Viola. But because I'm no coward, I'm tackling Viola at full force. And even though she has a team of 6 bloodthirsty arthropods fully equipped with items, maxed out IVs, and powerful movesets, I have Froakie, or rather Frogadier now that Hermes has evolved, has the hidden ability Protean, a phenomenal ability that allows him to change type into the move that he's about to use. Not only does this mean that Hermes will effectively get the same type attack boost to all of his moves, it can also be used to defensively bait certain moves from the enemy trainer, since changing your type, of course, changes which move will do the most damage to you. Against Viola's lead Surskit, Hermes can turn it type and nail her with a stab smackdown, activating her focus action before Viola sets up Sticky Web, which is an incredibly frustrating move that lowers the speed of grounded Pokemon as they switch in. Of course, that's only useful if we switch, and for now, Hermes is sticking around to kill Surskit with another Smackdown. The XP here gains him another level, which is fine since the level cap ends at the start of the battle. And we have just a little extra power as our rock typing outmates in Joltik. Smackdown still isn't enough to get the one-shot, but without a stab, Joltik's Giga Drain isn't enough to threaten Hermes with a KO. I use a quick attack to finish Joltik off as a normal type so that we bait in Larvesta next, who has the highest base power move of Viola's remaining Pokemon. A simple quad-effective Smackdown gets our 3rd KO and our first one-shot of the fight, bringing in Vivian 4th. And thanks to Hermes' natural speed, we can just barely outspeed and land yet another one-shot. Dwebble is 5th and has Sturdy to avoid getting one-shot by Water Pulse, but since the little bugger just sets up a Stealth Rock, a second Water Pulse on the following turn leaves Viola down to her final Pokemon, Dustox. She threatens a painful stall with Toxic, Infestation, and Protect, but since Smackdown is still a 2-shot, there really isn't much stopping Hermes from completing his solo sweep and netting us the very first gym badge of Pokemon Eternal X. But don't worry, it's all mostly uphill from here. Next is one of the longest stretches between gyms in the entire franchise, and as a result, there's a ton of new encounters and a handful of rival fights, all of which are fairly challenging. But we've got a lot to cover, so I'll only be touching on the most important encounters and fights for the rest of the playthrough. As always, if you want to see everything in more detail, check out my highlights channel for a full playlist of Eternal X videos.
Let's go.
Anyways, perhaps the most important encounter from this stretch of the game is the very next encounter I catch on Route 4, a Ladybug. Yep, you heard that right. The most important encounter I get is Demeter the Ladybug, because this is no ordinary Ladybug. This is a Ladybug in a ROM hack. In this ROM hack, Ladian has been transformed from a forgettable early game encounter with the attack hacking prowess of a small child suffering from muscular atrophy, swinging around a pillow in a one-sided pillow fight that has reached the point of requiring parental interference lest someone gets seriously hurt, to a speedy assassin with access to one of the highest base power moves in the entire game. Not only did Ladian gain a monstrous 60 base attack buff, he also now has the ability Aerial Aid, which turns all normal type moves into flying type moves and gives them a 30% boost. So, by teaching Demeter the move Return and loving him unconditionally, he now has a 102 flying type move. To add Stab and the 30% boost from Aerial Aid, suddenly that becomes a nearly 200 base power move that at this point in the game eviscerates anything that doesn't resist it. Demeter truly is a god and the best bug a guy could ask for. But he's obviously not the only amazing encounter I can get, and that's something that Bufflesap ROM hacks do quite well. There's a lot of guaranteed or nearly guaranteed encounters in Bufflesap games that give the player a lot of really powerful Pokemon to play with. One such encounter is the Bulbasaur I get from Professor Sexymore in Lumio City, who will be able to Mega Evolve in a few more level caps. Another guaranteed encounter is the Static Snorlax on Route 7, who I named Hypnos. The rest of the encounters here aren't guaranteed, but are still pretty phenomenal. A Mosquito named Pan from Route 5, an Esper named Athena from Route 6, a Meditite named Ares from Connecting Cave, which is potential Mega Pokemon number 3 for those keeping track, and then an incredibly lucky 10% Gligar.
Das ist jetzt das Erste, was schief gehen könnte.
Route 8, named Asclepius. Once I get to Ambrit Town, a man gives me the Old Rod, which I can use to backtrack to Route 3 and fish up a 60% magic card. Mega Pokemon number 4. On Route 9, I catch a Helioptile named Helios, and then after saving a scientist from the most absurdly dressed villains of the series, I can revive an armor fossil into a shielded named Atlas. Last is a 5th potential Mega in the Electrike named Hera from Route 10, though unfortunately I never end up finding a way to use her. She's still a good girl though. With that, we've got a pretty stacked set of Pokemon to team build with, which is great because the second gym leader, Grant, is a very scary double battle. His lead of Gigalith to set up the Sandstorm and Solrock to set up screens makes this a particularly tough team to break through. I lead with Pan and Athena, who have evolved into Go-Go and Meowstic respectively. After Gigalith's Sandstream activates, Athena goes for a fake out to flank Solrock. This lets Pan safely hit Gigalith with a Seed Bomb for a massive amount of damage without getting nailed by a Flare Blitz from Solrock. As I was hoping, Gigalith just goes for Automize to get a speed boost. Unfortunately for him, even at +2, my cat and dog are still faster.
Nice.
So, on the following turn, Athena sets up a Rain Dance to not only remove the Sandstorm and its pesky special defense boost to rock types, but to also have the power of Solrock's Flare Blitz. Go-Go then kills Gigalith with a Seed Bomb, boosting the whole team to level 33, before Solrock just goes for a Reflect. Not exactly ideal, since the Aerodactyl that comes in next is an absolute beast. Or rather, he would be if his strongest attack wasn't the 2-turn move Sky Attack. He's holding a Power Herb, which allows his first Sky Attack to become a 1-turn move, but a Protect from Pan renders it ineffective. After that, he has to waste a turn charging up, which means that protecting every other turn makes Aerodactyl effectively useless as long as he's baited into going for Sky Attack. A few turns later, I've swapped out Athena for Atlas, and Aerodactyl has succumbed to Leech Seed damage, bringing Sudowoodo in 4th. But with Athena's Rain Dance now expired, Solrock's Flare Blitz are now a bit of a problem for Pan. So I use Protect as I switch Atlas out for Asclepius the Gligar. I'm hoping Sudowoodo uses Ice Punch into Pan's Protect as well, but he ends up going for Wood Hammer into Asclepius for a solid chunk of damage. That's fine though, because Asclepius isn't sticking around. A Seed Bomb from Pan and a U-turn from Asclepius is enough to kill Solrock and pivot my pink little scamp into Ares, who with the help of an Eviolite takes a critical hit Ice Punch. Thankfully, there's no freeze there, but it's only a 10% chance. Ridley replaces Solrock, so I detect with Ares, who should bait Grant to take the KO. This lets me nail Sudowoodo with a Seed Bomb for a bit of damage through Reflect. Toxic from Cradley badly poisons Pan, but then Woodhammer does indeed whiff into Ares' death. That was the last turn of Reflect, so on the following turn I can swap Ares into Dionysus the Venusaur, and then kill Sudowoodo with a second Seed Bomb. A Limp Giga Drain from Cradley into Dionysus grants an essentially free switch, as Relicanth comes in last for Grant. Fortunately, the fish has a quad weakness to grass-type moves, so Seed Bomb activates Sturdy, and then Dionysus takes the KO with a Razor Leaf that graciously does not miss. Relying on 95% accurate moves is the worst. Anyways, with Grant down to just his Cradley, I switch out Pan to avoid any issues with toxic damage racking up here, but our health leftovers has kept my cow pretty healthy throughout. With a combination of U-turn from Asclepius and Petal Dance from Dionysus, Cradley falls, and an incredibly difficult second gym badge is won, completely deathless. On our way to the next gym in Shalor City, I encounter a horde of Nidoran on Route 11, which means I have a bit of a decision on my hand. Since Nidoking was a big player in my recent playthrough of Blaze Black, I decided to give the Queen a spin. So once we've killed the spares, Gaia joins the roster. After again failing to get carving from Reflection Cave, someday we'll be together again, my love, I make it to Shalor City where the first of a million Serena fights awaits. They're all nearly identical and require virtually the same strategy each time, so I'm gonna skip almost all of them in this video. But again, check out the highlights channel if you—
No! You can't shamelessly plug the same thing twice in one video flying on HG. I won't allow it.
Okay, Garchomp FJ, you're right. Thank you for being the voice of the people and keeping me honest.
You're welcome, Flying on HG. I really appreciate that you try to keep plugs and promos to a minimum in your videos. It's what separates you from all the other YouTube squares in this space. Oh God!
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is an online platform that helps you build and manage your own website, whether that's an online store for your business or a personal blog for your thoughts. Using their all-in-one platform and customizable templates, it's quick and painless to easily create professional and polished websites. And with their new Fluid Engine design system featuring drag and drop technology, it's easier than ever before to fine-tune every single detail of your website. For example, I use Squarespace to launch PoppyHG.com in no time at all. Now the entire world has a one-stop destination to find curated pictures of my corgi puppy, Poppy. For those of you who watch the Squarespace ads just to get a glimpse of Poppy, let me know what other pages and features I should add to PoppyHG.com in the comments down below. I think it's time for a side update. Squarespace also has a ton of other really useful features, like analytic information about the traffic of your website, and Squarespace member areas, which can be used to connect with audiences and create exclusive members-only content. So if you're looking to start a website for your business or hobby, then you should absolutely check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch your website, you can use my custom link to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. The third gym leader, Karina, is next, so let's take a look at her team. Notice anything strange? Anything out of the ordinary for a third gym leader? Yeah, Karina has a legendary Pokemon on her team. The first of many that we'll be facing in this playthrough. On top of that, she also has a Mega Lucario, so Eternal X just turned the dial to 11, and I've got to figure out how to match it. We don't have access to legendaries or megas quite yet, but fortunately I do have a few Pokemon with solid matchups into fighting types. Karina leads with Breloom, and I lead with Athena. I can use Fake Out to flinch Breloom and break her Focus Sash, letting me take the KO with an extra sensory on the following turn before she gets off any Spore shenanigans. That then immediately brings in Karina's Sword of Justice. But what's a measly legendary to a primordial deity? Gaia, ancestral mother of life, can come in on a weak resisted X-Scissor, and conveniently with her poison ground typing, she manages to resist all of Terracion's attacks. Jump. After tanking a Sacred Sword, a Bulldoze does massive damage and lowers Terracion's speed. Side note here, after getting the second gym badge, you can purchase ability capsules from the Pokemart, which I can use to freely change the abilities of my Pokemon. Normally, Gaia has Sheer Force to drastically increase the power of her attacks with secondary effects, but for this battle, I specifically made sure to change her ability to Rivalry so that she'd be able to lower Terrakion's speed with Bulldoze. Anyways, now I can switch back to Athena on a resistant Sacred Sword. Terrakion's Life Orb damage has brought them into healing range, but with their speed reduced, Athena now outspeeds and takes out Terrakion with 2 extra sensories before they can get off another attack. That brings in Fingoro third, and Athena is specifically not holding an item, so that Karina will go for Sucker Punch here instead of Knockoff, granting me a safe switch into Asclepius. With the help of a held Flying Gem and Acrobatics is more than enough to one-shot the Holy Bear. That brings Gallade in fourth, but thanks to his paltry physical defense and Acrobatics' absurd 110 base power, little Asclepius can get his second one-hit KO of the fight. Halucha is last, but at full HP, we're completely safe to even a critical hit from the Luchadora. So I just stay in, take a nasty Flying Gem boosted Acrobatics, copycat, and retaliate with my own Acrobatics for Asclepius' third KO in as many turns. That just leaves Karina with her Lucario. Megas will always come out last, which makes them a little bit easier to play around. I switch to Apoyo, the now fully evolved Blaziken, who shrugs off a soft Ice Punch from a now Mega evolved Lucario. That's the second gym battle in a row where I'm risking a freeze from Ice Punch, but once again, I'm not punished, because I'm the best Nuzlocke in the world. Since Apoyo has speed boost, I protect for a turn to gain the speed advantage. As with my other recent ROM hack playthroughs, I'm not using setup moves like Dragon Dance, Shell Smash, and Nasty Plot, but abilities like speed boost are fair game in my personal rule set. Anyways, the speed advantage doesn't really matter here, since Mega Lucario is just going for priority vacuum waves, which is the only one of his attacks that we don't resist, but I didn't want to just risk getting flinched by a stray Dark Horse or something. With Leftovers recovery, we're safe to take out Lucario with a few Fire Punches, winning us another deathless victory for badge number 3.
Scheiße. Vor allem, dass sie kein Heal ist.
At the Tower of Mastery, Karina grants me the ability to Mega Evolve, so even though every subsequent boss battle will feature a Mega, it'll now be a more level playing field. It also helps that I get a Lucario here for free, giving me access to 6 potential Mega Evolutions. Actually make that 7 because I immediately catch a Marine named Zeus from round 12. I could also get a Manaphy from Reserve Bay here using Hell Manipulation, but I decided that Manaphy is dumb and sucks, so I get a Mantike instead. And speaking of things that are dumb and suck, I end up catching a Gibble from Route 13, robbing me of the chance at the far superior Dragon Ground type, Flygon. I'm sure I'll still find a use for Oasis somehow. But now it's time for the fight against the 4th gym leader Ramos, who challenges me to my absolute least favorite type of battle, a rotation battle. That's right, Univa's worst gimmick weaseled its way into Generation 6 before getting permanently dropped from the franchise for good. The reason I loathe rotation battles, which is a battle style that features 3 Pokemon on each side of the field, then they rotate into the active position at the start of every turn, is because the AI in rotation battles is completely random, which means that the AI will arbitrarily rotate Pokemon in no discernible pattern, and then also randomly pick a move to use, regardless of whether or not that move actually makes sense. It makes creating a battle plan incredibly difficult, and in some cases impossible, since you can't predict or even make an educated guess on what the AI will do. It turns what is personally my favorite part of Nuzlocking, strategy, into a glorified game of rock, paper, scissors against a computer. The best strategy I've found for rotation battles is extreme hyper offense with a little bit of good luck. So that's what I go for here. Ramos leads with Ferrothorn, Venusaur, and Serperior, who is part Dragon type in this game. I lead with Hephaestus, Demeter, and Apoyo.
Das war
Hephaestus is in the
Gold noch?
lead to set up a sunny day, though not before Ramos
Was habe ich
rotates
denn
away Serperior
gestern
and fires
im
off a
Stream
nasty
gemacht,
Draco
dass
Meteor, which gives him a +2
ich so die
boost
Zeit
to attack,
verloren habe?
thanks to Contrary. With the sun up, Apoyo is in a good position to sweep with Fire Punch, though we do need to get rid of the boosted Serperior first. Thankfully, Ramos complies and lets Demeter come in and get the kill with a flying type return on the very next turn. Torterra comes in to take Superior's place, but with the help of Solid Rock and a Copa Berry, Demeter's no good here. I rotate to a Poyo and Mega Evolve, since one would think that Torterra would never go for Earthquake against the Flying type, even with random AI. Of course, we don't find out, since Ramos just switches to Ferrothorn, who gets nuked by Mega Apoyo's Sun-boosted Fire Punch. That brings in Ludicolo, who threatens with Rain Dance, Ice Beam, and Hydro Pump. He also has a Focus Sash, which makes things a little trickier. I rotate to Demeter, who brings Ludicolo down to Sash with another Life Orb boosted return. Ludicolo then sets up Rain Dance, so on the next turn, as Ramos heals, I rotate to Hephaestus to reset the sun. Then it's back to Demeter, who can get a clean one-shot now that Ludicolo's Focus Sash is used up. All hail Demeter, god of unreasonable Rom-Hack buffs. Anyways, with Ludicolo down, Ramos brings in his final Pokemon, Skyform Shaman. Does Rom-Hack. This thing is a massive threat to all of my Pokemon and outspeeds everything on my team except Mega Blaziken. The best scenario would be that we get the one shot with the Poyo while Fire Punch is still boosted by the sun, and that's exactly what happens. Ramos stays in and Shaman goes down. So now Ramos is down to his Venusaur, which will Mega Evolve, and his Torterra, which might flick Earthquake to kill a Poyo, or might flick Stone Edge to kill Demeter. It's really a total crapshoot here. Despite knowing that rotation battles are random, it's hard to not try to find some logic in them. So what I do is I go with the idea that Torterra sees the kill with Earthquake on a Poyo, which should give me a safe switch into Demeter. Demeter rotates in, Torterra rotates in, a half-powered super effective return leaves Torterra right around 50%, and then a Stone Edge kills Sweet Demeter. It's the first death of the run, and an absolutely devastating one at that. Demeter quite literally swept massive parts of this early game, most notably the pretty tricky fight against Tierno on round 7 that I was able to completely gloss over. Demeter was a fan favorite, and he certainly was a personal favorite. He was a shining example of how fun ROM hacks can be. To lose him in a coin flip during a rotation battle is brutal, and a gross reminder of how cool the Pokemon world can be. One minute you're king of the world, and the next you're a bug squashed on the windshield of the crazy 18-wheeler we call life. Rest well, sweet prince. Your impact will never be forgotten. I vow to you that I'll seek revenge for your death, my son, and there's nothing I do better than revenge. Amphitrite the Gyarados comes in to help wrap up the rest of the fight. Apoyo kills Torterra with a Fire Punch, and then Amphitrite defeats Mega Venusaur with a few bounces. Oh, and before you write a comment about how the AI does this random, Mega Venusaur tries to use Earthquake on Amphitrite when she's up in the air. So, yeah. It sucks to lose Demeter to something so stupid, but I did get really lucky during that fight as well. For one, Mega Venusaur never rotated in, which led me to conclude that even in a rotation battle, the AI will save the Pokemon that Mega Evolves for last. That turns out to be wrong, but we'll get to that soon enough. Yes, rotation battles will return. For now, though, that's badge number 4. There's no additional encounters before the next badge in Lumio City. Just some minor Team Flare stuff at the Kalos power plant. Yup, just your regular, ordinary Team Flare fights. Nothing to see here. Lamont is a triple battle, which is remarkably better than a rotation battle, despite still having the chance to go horribly wrong. Fortunately, against his lead of Lantern, Raichu, and Electivire, we can the triple ground threat of Oasis, Gaia, and Asclepius. This'll hopefully prevent Clement from spamming Discharge to activate his own Lightning Rod, Motor Drive, and Volt Absorb. On the first turn, I protect with Gaia, dig with Oasis, who's now a Garchomp, tank a Focus Blast from Raichu that for some reason targeted Asclepius, and then dig with him as well. This means we dodge the Ice Punch from Electivire and the Ice Beam from Lantern, though it does mean that Gaia protected for nothing. On the following turn, Oasis surfaces with Dig to get the one-shot on Electivire thanks to a health expert.
Mein Y-Knopf
Well, and a critical hit, but that actually wasn't. Raichu then connects with a second Focus Blast onto Oisis for a decent chunk of damage, before Asclepius gets the one-shot on
Ich hab
Lantern
schon
with
wieder einen
another dig.
Mond vergessen.
So a Sheer Force boosted Earth Power from Gaia hits Raichu hard, though a held Shuka Berry means that we don't get the KO. Which is fine because we don't want Clamont's Mega Ampharos coming out until we've cleared a few more threats. Variant Form Thundurus replaces Electivire, and Stunfisk replaces Lantern. The latter got a defense buff, and the former is Clamont's legendary of choice, so we'll need to be a little careful here. Fortunately, Oisis can just one-shot the part flying type Thundurus with Strength, which has been turned into a 100 base power rock type move that lowers the user's defenses. It's basically a weaker rock type close combat. The first thing to do is protect with both Oisis and Gaia so that Asclepius can go for dig. I want to time this right so that I can kill both Thundurus and Stunfisk.
Ja, mein Controller ist mein Y-Knopf klemmt. Shit.
So on the next turn, I start by having Oisis fire off Strength, which leaves Thundurus with a sliver of HP. That is very bad. Defense drops, Raichu's Grass Knot does a massive chunk of damage. Asclepius also hits Stunfisk with a dig to bring him into the red and aggravate his own Citrus Berry. But then, sadly, Thundurus connects with yet another Focus Blast, killing Oisis the Garchomp in front of my very eyes. That's another devastating blow to Team 1 Ball. Oisis was the child I never wanted, yet I can't help but shed a tear. Now, especially because Strength should have always killed Thundurus there, unless he had a plus defense nature, and we got a low one. The trainer docs I'm using don't report nature, and to the best of my knowledge, enemy trainers in Eternal X have random natures anyways, so the odds of Thundurus having a plus defense nature, and us getting a low roll, and Focus Blast, actually connecting, is frustratingly small. But that's Pokemon for you, and goes to show you that even with preparation, there's plenty that can still go wrong. Gaia taking out Stunfisk, we're now in a sticky situation. Mega Ampharos is very scary, though he does have the downside of being extremely
No,
slow.
shit.
Clemont takes the opportunity to use both of his full restores on Raichu and Thundurus. Then we both commit our Mega Evolutions. The fun begins. Asclepius goes for another dig, Gaia hits Ampharos with a very strong Earth Power, and Dionysus nails Raichu with a Menace Shot. Mega Ampharos then wastes a turn setting up electric terrain, so on the next turn, Raichu goes for Discharge, which only does baby damage to Dionysus, as well as a little bit to Clamont's own Ampharos. Asclepius resurfaces to get the KO on Clamont's Mega, Thundurus connects with yet another Focus Blast into Gaia for a soft amount of HP, Gaia then retaliates with an Ice Punch for over 50%, and Raichu finally falls to a second Menace Shock from Dionysus. On the final turn of the battle, Thundurus demonstrates that Focus Blast has
Ich verliere ein
been
bisschen
buffed to
Zeit.
have perfect accuracy, and then Gaia takes him out with an Ice Punch, scoring us a sloppy victory over the 5th Gym Leader.
Schnelle und kostenlose Lieferung. Spannende Unterhaltung. Für nur 8,99 € pro Monat werde jetzt Prime-Mitglied.
The mid-game through Kalos rips, so I barely have time to mourn the loss of Oisis before it's time to face off against the next gym leader. But there's two notable encounters along the way. Parablast named Heracles from Route 14 gives me another powerful steel type, and a Poliwag from Lemire City named Anthea finally grants me a weather setter. But neither are relevant for the fight against Valerie. After the chaos of the rotation and triple battles back-to-back, it's nice to have a comparatively pedestrian single battle, despite her Mega Mawile being one of the scariest Pokemon we've faced so far. Valerie leads with Klefki, so Eiley with Hephaestus, who has been pre-damaged to be in Blaze range. The hope is that this baits Klefki to just go for an attack, though she ends up going for a Prince with Swagger.
A
I came
und Y
prepared for it,
klemmen.
though, because a Lumberry clears our confusion, and then a Fire Punch, now also charged by the attack.
Ich hab, glaub ich, ein bisschen zu früh gesplittet. War das noch ein Gold? Nein.
Granbull's Toxic Orb activates to trigger her Quick Feet ability, which means that
Aber
she'll
egal.
now outspeed us. Just kidding, Granbull is quite slow and Asclepius is quite fast, so an Acrobatics gets a clean one-shot on Granbull, who's part fighting type in this game. Azumarill is third, so it's off to Helios, who's immune to Liquidation thanks to her Dry Skin ability. Asclepius and Helios are an incredible duo for pivoting. Asclepius often baits water-type moves, which Helios is immune to, while Helios often baits ground-type moves that Asclepius is immune to. Add in the fact that they're both speedy and have access to U-turn or Volt Switch, and you've got a very nasty combination against certain key threats. A few of these switches, and Helios is able to kill Azumarill with a Volt Switch, granting me a free switch to Hypnos as Valerie brings in Miss Magius forth. This is a pretty tricky Pokemon since she can set up with nasty plot, but unfortunately for her, Hypnos is a specially defensive monster and really doesn't care. A Babiri Berry means that Miss Magius survives one Heavy Slam, but by using Yawn, Protect, and Leftovers Recovery, kick her out while staying at full HP. And frankly, the exact same Yawn and Protect strategy can be done to nullify Valerie's Sylveon. Once she's asleep and accrued a bit of chip damage from a bulldoze, I safely switch to Gaia. On the next turn, I take the KO with a Poison Jab, putting the Queen in the perfect position to face down against Valerie's Mega Mawile. Without any chip damage, Gaia isn't in range to a Sucker Punch, meaning that after Valerie Mega evolves, we can get a clean KO with a Sheer Power, Life Orb boosted Earth Power, winning us the battle. From here, it's off to the Pokeball Factory, where Team Flare is stirring up trouble. At the end of this little arc is one of the trickiest fights in the game. The multi-battle with Serena against Team Flare admins Celery and Brian. Both admins have a full team of 6 Pokemon, including a Mega apiece. And Briany leads with a Focus Sash Darkrai with Dark Full. This is Renegade Platinum Spear Pillar all over again. And just like before, I gotta hope that my rival pulls her weight. But I'm not gonna draw this one out. Serena doesn't just pull her own weight, she puts on a freaking weightlifting clinic with her Clefable. Her little fairy type gets kills on Brian's Darkrai, Haxorus, and Mega Pinsir, as I just do my best to avoid getting killed by going for protects and then attacking when it's safe. Thanks to what can only be described as an all-star Hall of Fame performance from Clefable, this normally brutal fight quickly becomes a 2v1. A few turns later, against Toxicroak, Clefable also lays down her life so that I can get a safe switch to Gaia. I'd expect nothing more from a hero like Clefable. She died so that the team could live, because from there, we can methodically pick off Pokemon one by one until the battle is won. There's no shortage of bad things to say about the Gen 6 squadron of rivals, but you know what, Serena? You're alright in my book. With that, we've got a medley of new encounters, including my first stab at getting a legendary of my own. In the back half of the game, many routes have a 1% chance of finding a legendary Pokemon. That's obviously pretty low odds, but Bufflesaft intentionally made legendaries a few levels higher than every other encounter on the route, so that players could guarantee a handful of legends and mythicals using repel manipulations if they wanted to use them. Given that Insanity Mode is intentionally balanced around the use of these traditionally overpowered Pokemon, this playthrough seemed like a great opportunity to remove my usual ban on Mythicals and Legends. After scoring a Duskull named Hades from Route 15, I head into the Lost Hotel and catch a Hoopa, my very first Mythical. And then, in the Frost Cavern, I find a Kyurem, my very first Legendary. This long look at is here because it's the last time you'll ever see them. Same with Ate the Hoopa, actually. It turns out that a lot of legendaries and mythicals really aren't that good. But you know what is good? Delibird. A spiritual successor to Demeter, if you will. Delia the Delibird got several buffs. She got a monstrous boost to her attacking speed, the ability Refrigerate, which turns normal-type moves into boosted Ice-type moves, and access to the move Extreme Speed, a powerful normal-type priority move. It all together, and Delia the Delibird has a very terrifying 156 base power priority Ice-type attack. In other words, Delia is the world's best dragon killer. She's a living weapon so perfect that she could have only been crafted by the very hands of God. Soon, her time will come. But next is another rotation battle, now against the 7th gym leader Olympia and her psychic types. Just like before, the plan is to spam strong attacks and hope for the best. Olympia leads with Claydol, Sigilyph, and Deoxys, whereas I lead with Anthea, Heracles, and Poseidon. Olympia immediately sets up the rain, activating Poseidon's Swift Swim ability and boosting his water-type attacks. So I rotate him in and start going for Surf. The first one crits Claydol for a one-shot. Pretty great to see that Poseidon isn't squandering his one moment in the spotlight. Metagross comes in to replace Claydol and is the recipient of Surf number 2, which does over 50%. Then they retaliate with an Earthquake that does a solid chunk of damage to my main sweeper. Olympia rotates to Sigalith on Surf number 3, and then goes for a Cosmic Power. Her Flame Orb activates here as well, so hopefully another Surf can take her out before she starts pulling off any shenanigans. We don't get to find out quite yet though, because Olympia rotates to her attack form Deoxys, who survives a Surf thanks to their health focus sash. Then, in classic random AI fashion, they go for a Fire Punch in the rain against my water type. Pretty much any other attack probably would have killed Psyduck there, but with the sash broken, Olympia heals and I rotate to Heracles, who has gone from 0 to hero and can cleanly one-shot Deoxys with a Fell Stinger, instantly boosting his attack by 2 stages. With Latias coming in, Psyduck is no longer safe to spam Surf, lest we let the Dragon type set up a gold mine for free. So I start spamming Leech Life with Heracles instead. This keeps him pretty healthy, even after getting nailed by an Earthquake from Metagross. That brings in Medicham, who will of course Mega Evolve when she gets the chance. Operating under the assumption that Medicham will always rotate here and not come out until the very end of the battle, I stay in with Heracles. Olympia does happen to rotate to Sigalith, who also goes for a Roost, which conveniently drops her secondary flying typing, meaning that Leech Life is now super effective and nets a clean. Latias rotates in, so I go for another Leech Life, and it's here where I find out that Megas can come in earlier during rotation battles. Fortunately, Mega Medicham just goes for a Resistance and Headbutt, because a high jump kick would have been the end of our Grecian demigod. Leech Life just barely misses out on the kill, so Olympia heals on the following turn, as another Leech Life brings her Mega back down into the red. Another Zen Head comes out on the following turn, so Heracles gets yet another kill with Leech Life. That just leaves Latias, but all she does is go for a greedy Calm Mind before a final Leech Life wins us the battle, completely deathless. So now it's time to save the freaking world, baby. Team Flare's gonna do a mass murder, and I, a small boy, has to stop them. Requires a ton of Team Flare fights, including several nearly identical matchups against Lysander. We'll go ahead and skip to the very last one that determines the fate of the world. Before that, though, I do have to capture Xerneas, and for once, I get to actually use them. Fairy types are phenomenal, and lacking one for the entire run up until this point has been a bit of a pain. I'm not sure a minus special attacking Xerneas here is ideal, but the sheer power of Fairy Aura boosted Blasts will be more than enough to make up for it. Angry that I've kidnapped his cow, Lysander cosplaying as Gizmo from Teen Titans comes at me with all his might. His lead is a freaking Yveltal, but I came prepared with the chunkiest boy in the West, Hypnos. His monstrous special defense and mediocre physical defense baits Yveltal into going for Sucker Punch, which fails as I nail him with a Toxic. I promise this is one of only like 2 Toxic stalls in the entire video, but it's worth it here because Yveltal is a very
Alter, das hat sich so schlecht angefühlt.
They start spamming Roost, so I can safely go for a Strength to get the clean KO.
Das hat sich so schlecht angefühlt, ne? 2 Minuten.
Then it's a switch to Asclepius, who still takes pretty nasty damage from a second high jump kick. Normally, it's not a big deal because Asclepius can be pre-poisoned to activate his Poison Heal ability, which restores a massive chunk of his HP each turn. Unfortunately, my team gets auto-healed after fighting Xerneas, so Asclepius no longer has a way to heal, making things a little bit tighter than I would have liked, especially because me and Cho outspeeds to connect with another high jump kick before we take him out. Garchomp is third and ready to lock himself into Outrage, so I switch to Atlas. Since it's not doing much, I take the opportunity to set up Stealth Rock, and then I hit Garchomp with another Toxic. After that, though, Garchomp's Outrage breaks, so he'll want to go for Earthquake, granting me a safe switch back into Asclepius. After using Protect for more Toxic damage, I switch to Cerberus on a resisted Outrage. It still does a ton, but that's completely fine since Garchomp falls to Toxic damage. This brings in Heatran, which means that it's time for Mega Lucario to rock and roll. An adaptability boost in close combat is more than enough for a clean one-hit kill. That brings in Corona 5th, who takes 50% from Stealth Rock as he comes in, and then immediately loses the remaining 50% to his Strength. All that's left is Lysander's Gyarados. He drops our attack with Intimidate, but thanks to Stealth Rock already doing 25%, and Gyarados swapping his secondary flying typing for a secondary dark typing as he Mega evolves. Close combat is still enough for the one-hit KO, winning us the final fight against Lysander and saving all of France. Not that. Regardless, I now have to prepare for one of the sketchiest parts of the game, the Rival Bridge Gauntlet that pits you against all three of the secondary rivals back to back to back. Colonel X, each rival has a full team of 6 Pokemon, so I'll need to build my team to be able to handle 18 different threats, with the additional wrinkle that I don't get healed until after the second fight. Now the good news is that Shauna's team is almost entirely walled by Hypnos the Snorlax with his combination of Yawn, Protect, Slack Off, and Return. Anything that doesn't comfortably two-shot Hypnos or threaten with significant secondary battle effects is pretty easy fodder. Shauna's Roserade does manage to poison Hypnos with a Sludge Bomb, which is pretty annoying, but the rest of my team barely takes any damage by the time we've bested all 6 of the Pokemon. Tierno, on the other hand, is significantly scarier since most of his Pokemon have a way to set up with various dancing moves, making switches between Pokemon far riskier. Against his weak Talonflame, Asclepius is able to get the one-shot with a string after Tierno just goes for a Swords Dance. Piccolo comes in second for me with Light Speed, so I go for the switch with U-Turn, but that ends up just critting for the one-shot. So I bring in Atlas as Tierno brings in Lilligant. Because of our sturdy ability, we're completely safe to set up a Stealth Rock here after taking a massive chunk of damage from Earth Power. Then I switch back to Asclepius on another Earth Power, letting me get a second U-turn to bring in Dionysus as Lilligant sets up the Quiver Dance. That's a little scary, sure, but Dionysus can Mega Evolve, and since Lilligant is part Fairy type in this game, a Sludge Bomb is more than enough for a KO, though we do take a massive chunk of damage from a neutral Earth Power as a result. That makes the Volcarona that comes in fourth a bit trickier. In his Mega form, Dionysus has Thick Fat, so we're safe to stay in for a little bit, but Volcarona setting up a Quiver Dance here is pretty concerning. That is until we land a critical hit with Sludge Bomb. To be honest, that was pretty lucky. Even with the Stealth Rock damage doing 50%, Sludge Bomb is not getting the one-shot there after the special defense boost. Kingdra comes in 5th and goes for an Outrage before we retaliate with a nasty Giga Drain. On the next turn, we win what appears to be a speed tie, so Kingdra goes down. Last is Tierno's adaptability Groudon, but with his Focus Sash broken by Stealth Rock, a single Giga Drain wins us the battle. So that just leaves Trevor, and since Tierno was nice enough to heal us, all of my Pokemon are back to full HP. Trevor's lead Raichu knows Surf, so I gotta switch Asclepius out into Dionysus. A few Giga Drains knock out the Rat Run with my Mega at nearly full HP. That brings in Frostlass second, who's annoying to deal with because of Destiny Bond. The plan is to bring in Atlas for another Toxic Stall, since Toxic damage doesn't trigger Destiny Bond, but on the switch, an Ice Beam gets the freeze. This is pretty bad because I also needed Atlas to set up Stealth Rock so that I can break the Focus Sash on Trevor's very scary Aerodactyl. The good news is that with the leftovers, I can survive a few hits and try to thaw out. I can also freely switch to Hypnos on a Shadow Ball and put Frostlass to sleep with Yawn to get even more chances at unfreezing. But because Freeze is a stupidly broken mechanic that only has a 20% thaw chance on any given turn, Atlas stays frozen for 5 full turns. And then, when I switch back to Hypnos to try and put Frostlass asleep for a 3rd time, he gets frozen by an Ice Beam and proceeds to stay frozen for 6 turns. You wake up and hit Frostlass with one more Yawn right before she knocks herself out with her own Life Orb recoil, so Atlas does get at least one more chance to unfreeze here, but he does not. With Frostlass taking herself out, Growlithe comes in 3rd, so I switch to Phage on a resisted Focus Punch. A Moonblast on the following turn gets a clean kill, bringing in Trevor's own Bastiodon, which provides the perfect opportunity to go back into Atlas and try to unfreeze. His Bastiodon really can't do anything to Atlas, so it's just a matter of waiting it out. Funny enough, Atlas thaws out on the very first turn, so we can set up Stealth Rock and then bring Asclepius in to kill Bastiodon with a nasty quad-effective Earthquake. That brings in Aerodactyl, but with the Stealth Rock finally set up, after he goes for a scary Home Claws, we get the KO with a single strain. So all that's left is Fortress, who gets walled by Dionysus and taken out with a few Sludge Bombs, winning us the Rival Bridge Gauntlet deathless. Though again, I think that critical hit Sludge Bomb on Volcarona saved me big time.
Okay, komm on.
Morgens stattfindet, die sind Entwickler unterwegs, sind aber dennoch Soldaten. Für mich in meinem Beruf Kameradschaft, Vertrauen. Es entwickeln sich auch große Freundschaften. Das Miteinander.
Boah, das war gut, das war gut.
After a speech about friendship or whatever, I
Es geht
make my
sowas
way
von
to
besser.
Snowbell City, where the fight against the final gym leader, Wolfric, awaits. There's a few new encounters to mention here as well. From Route 18, I catch a Pupitar named Erebus, granting me another potential Mega and a second Weather Setter. From Terminus Cave, I catch a Genesect named Talos, which is a pretty nasty Pokemon if I keep them away from fire types. I also catch a Trevenant from the Winding Woods of Route 20. And then, in the Pokemon Village, which is like 90% legendary encounters, I catch a Zapdos named Aeolus. Talos and Erebus are both coming for the fight against Wolfric, which is another triple battle. He leads with Aurorus, Jinx, and Frostlass, as I lead with Hypnos, Talos, and Erebus. Talos gains an attack boost from their download ability, and then Erebus sets up the Sandstorm. This is immediately counteracted by Aurorus, who has Snow Warning in this game, but the cool thing about Erebus is that she can Mega Evolve at the beginning of the first turn, thereby reactivating Sandstream and giving us the weather advantage. After that, Aurorus protects, and Talos, with a Choice Scarf, outspeeds and kills Jinx with a boosted U-turn. This brings in Fames, who gets hit by a Shadow Ball from Frostlass, which frustratingly gets the special defense drop. Erebus is able to set Stealth Rock, and then Hypnos connects with a Heavy Slam through Bright Powder, getting a clean one-hit kill on Frostlass. But that then brings in Lapra and Kyurem White. The Stealth Rock chip, Moonblast gets the kill on the mutated dragon, and then a Strength from Erebus gets the one-shot on Lapra. We do have to take a pretty strong Earth Power from Aurorus as a result, but with the special defense boost from Sandstorm, even a crit wouldn't have killed my tanky Mega. That brings in Wolfric's Abomasnow last, so the Hail's back, but at this point it's a little too late. My switch fades out into Talos as Abomasnow Mega evolves. Both Erebus and Wolfric's Aurorus go for Protect, before Abomasnow hits into our Protect with a Focus Blast, letting Hypnos nail the monstrosity with a Yawn. But that doesn't matter, because on the following turn, Talos kills Abomasnow with an Iron Head, and Erebus takes out Aurorus with another Strength, winning us the 8th and final gym badge of Eternal X. With that, it's off to the Pokemon League, but not before taking a detour to Route 21, where I encounter an Eviltall. And you better believe I catch that sucker with a single Ultra Ball, baby. They don't call me Dr. One Ball HG for nothing. Welcome to the team, Thanatos, you absolute monster of a Pokemon. Par for the course, Victory Road in this ROM hack is pretty terrifying. Most of the trainers have a Mega Evolution, and some of them have Legendaries. There's even another mandatory rotation battle just for fun. But since it all goes smoothly enough, let's just skip to the final fight against Serena so that you can marvel at her team. It's been mostly the same throughout the entire playthrough, though now she has a Manaphy instead of a Vaporeon. So, that's fine. Her lead is my bestie Clefable from the Team Flare multi-battle. She won't be doing any damage in this fight though, because I lead with Cerberus, who immediately Mega Evolves and crushes Clefable with a single adaptability boosted Flash Cannon. That brings in Dragonite, so it's off to the Dragon Killer herself, Delia the Delibird. Our foe sets up a Dragon Dance, but it's completely useless, because with a Choice Band boosted Ice-type Priority Extreme Speed, Delia is able to cleanly one-shot Dragonite straight through her multi-scale ability. All hail the Dragon Killer Delia. Scizor is third, so it's a safe switch to my own Bug Steel type on a Bullet Punch. Then a Flamethrower is more than enough to one-shot Scizor. Fourth is Chestnut, which would be pretty scary if we weren't able to get another one-shot with Flamethrower. Well, that's bad. Turns out that the damage calculator I was using automatically includes the download boost in the calculations, so by setting my special attack to +1, I was overestimating the damage that Flamethrower would do, thus making this a massive misplay that is entirely my fault. But also, automatically factoring in the download boost is stupid. It's not like Rivalry or something where it's passively applied to every individual Pokemon you face. It's just a one-time boost. So you know what? I'm not stupid. The damage calculator is stupid. Anyways, back to the problem at hand. I switched Talos out into a Asclepius on a resisted Drain Punch, so Chestnut only gets back a tick of HP. He then goes for a greedy second Shell Smash before an overkill Acrobatics finishes him off. This brings Manaphy in 5th, so it's off to Helios on an Ice Beam that gets
Mir fehlt einer.
freaking freeze.
Ja, hab ihn.
Well, this isn't
Alles
great
gut, alles gut,
because I
alles
no
gut, alles
longer
gut,
have
alles
a way
gut.
to one-shot Manaphy, and they will now very likely set up with Tail Glow, a move that boosts their special attack by 3 stages in one fell swoop. I gotta make a sacrifice, and sadly, the choice is obvious. She deserves so much more, but it's time for Delia to meet her noble end. She comes in as Manaphy goes for
Okay,
a
come on.
terrifying Tail Glow. As a parting gift, we can nail the mythical monster with a priority extreme speed, but then, like so many legendary heroes before her, Delia is vanquished. This grants me a safe switch back into Cerberus, and with that extreme speed chip, along with the 2 ticks of Life Orb recoil, we can get the KO with a speedy close combat. So all that's left is Serena's Mega Kangaskhan, but Nyx the Trevenant is basically the perfect counter for what is otherwise a pretty threatening ace. Nyx resists Earthquake, is immune to double-edged power-up punch, and can avoid the baited sucker punch by going for Will-O-Wisp and Leech Seed. A few turns later, and Kangaskhan falls, leading us to battle, but at a terrible and indelible cost. As we approach the Pokemon League, I can't help but worry that the deaths of Demeter, Moises, and now Delia will be for naught. This Elite Four is insane. Each member plays with a different battle style, meaning that I'll need to build a team that can deal with Drasna's mostly legendary dragon types in a single battle, Malva's sun-boosted fire types in a double battle, Seabold's rain-boosted water types in a triple battle, and then, yes, Wingstrom's bulky steel types in one last rotation battle. Oh, and then there's Diantha's team, consisting of a mythical, 4 legendaries, one of which is literally God, and then a duck for some reason. I don't really know why Blaziken is there. But the point is, the Pokemon League of Eternal X is incredibly powerful, and we're gonna need to match that power level with our own heavy. So, here's the final team, all leveled up to the level cap of 84 to match the aces of each member of the Elite Four. First up, Asclepius the Glysaur. He's been a staple and a huge carry ever since we caught him on Route 8. With Poison Heal, incredible physical bulk, and a solid physical attack stat, he'll be essential to dealing with Malva, Wingstrom, and Diantha. Next is Anthea the Polytoad. She hasn't got much screen time, but a Weather Setter is essential for dealing with Malva, and her access to Icy Wind and Encore might be able to get me out of a few binds. Third is Erebus the Tyranitar, my mega of choice. She's another Weather Setter, and the only one useful in the Seabold's Rain team. For general bulk, power, and typing, are great into Malva and Diantha as well. Fourth is the first member of my legendary trio, Fanes the Xerneas. Even with a minus special attack nature, Moon Blast! Just too good to pass up when staring down Drasna's dragon types. Fifth is Aeolus the Zapdos, who hasn't made an appearance in the video so far, but with a phenomenal typing and solid bulk, they'll be essential in the matchups against Seabold, Malva, and Wingstrom. And then last, but absolutely not least, is Thanatos the Yveltal, yet another new member of the team. Dark Aura boosted Sucker Punches, Dark Pulses, and Foul Plays, along with incredibly reliable recovery from Oblivion Wind, makes them the perfect final member of this absolutely stacked team. Is all this power enough to defeat the hardest trainers in the game on Insanity Mode? It's time to find out. Probably unsurprisingly, I choose to tackle the single battle against Drasna first. She leads with a Choice Scarf Hydreigon, and I lead with Thanatos. My Death Bird baits Drasna into locking in with Dragon Pulse as I switch to Erebus. With the special defense boost from the Sandstorm and Leftovers Recovery, Dragon Pulse is barely hurting Erebus and can easily set up a Stealth Rock. I make sure to protect for a few turns to stall out my own Sandstorm, but eventually I switch into Fanes, who is of course immune to Dragon Pulse. Then, with a Held Choice Scarf of our own, I can one-shot Hydreigon with a Moon Blast. That brings in Rayquaza, who takes 25% from Stealth Rock. Unfortunately, a Roselli Berry means that a single Moon Blast isn't enough for the one-shot, but as anticipated, Drasna goes for a Dragon Dance, which means that after some healing, Fanes gets their second kill of the match at full HP, which is good because third is Giratina, who's too bulky to take out in one shot. As they disappear with a Shadow Force, I gotta switch to Asclepius. Even with our massive defense stat, Giratina Giratina still hits really hard, though Poison Heal and Leftovers Recovery do help out a ton. Grasna heals on the following turn, so Asclepius hits Giratina with a U-turn for a tiny chunk of HP, and to get a switch into Erebus, who resets up the Sandstorm. Erebus baits Earthquake or Will-O-Wisp, which means I can use Protect and to switch back to Asclepius for some slow but reliable damage via Sandstorm Chip. After another turn of Protecting with Asclepius, I can U-turn back into Fanes on a Draco Meteor. And with all that chip, Giratina's now in range to a single Moonblast on the following turn. That brings in Noivern, whose Focus Sash gets broken by Stealth Rock, before going down to yet another Choice Scarf Moonblast. Then it's Latios.
No.
He too survives a Moonblast, but simply tries to set up with Calm Mind, meaning that a second Moonblast gets an easy KO. Last is Grasna's Mega Charizard X, which only takes neutral damage from Fairy-type attacks, but since she took 50% from Stealth Rock on the switch, one last Moonblast is enough to knock her out and win us the battle. That's one down. But second is the triple battle against Seabold and his Rain team featuring Kyogre. In addition to the chunky fish, he leads with Ludicolo and Kingdra, as I lead with Aeolus, Fanes, and Erebus. Kyogre outspeeds Erebus, so for now at least, we win the Weather War. To kick things off, Aeolus, holding an Assault Vest, does a massive amount of damage to Kyogre with a Thunderbolt. It's not enough for the one-shot, but Fanes finishes them off with an Expert Belt boosted Horn Leech. Go Physical Xerneas! Kingdra nails Fanes with a pretty nasty super effective Flash Cannon before Ludicolo goes for a Rain Dance. But then Erebus uses Sunny Day to set up the sun for the next turn. Seabold brings in Palkia 4th, so it's time for Fanes to kill another dragon. Delia would be so proud. First though, I switch Erebus into Thanatos, who's holding an Assault Vest. Then I swap Aeolus with Fanes in order to avoid getting hit by another Flash Cannon from Kingdra. Palkia does indeed fall to a Moonblast, and Kingdra does indeed hit Aeolus with a weak Flash Cannon. But without Erebus in to set up another Sunny Day, Ludicolo successfully gets off a Rain Dance as Gastrodon comes in 5th. I can switch Thanatos out to again set up the Sandstorm with Erebus, but because Gen 6 doesn't have dynamic speed, Kingdra and Ludicolo still outspeed us thanks to their Swift Swim abilities. Gastrodon graciously goes for Protect, so he doesn't get the Storm Drain boost from Kingdra's Surf. With the held Pasho Berry on Erebus and the AV on Aeolus, both my Pokemon take it pretty well. Unfortunately, Ludicolo also fires off a Surf, which crits Fanes. Aeolus then misses a Hurricane into Ludicolo, and Fanes hits into Gastrodon's Protect with Horn Leech, so overall, it's a pretty terrible turn for Team 1 Ball. Though at least we do have the weather advantage again. Fearing a double target from Gastrodon and Kingdra, I once again switch Erebus out into Thanatos. A Thunderbolt from Aeolus brings Kingdra into the red. Gastrodon also barely survives a Horn Leech thanks to a held Rhino Berry. Kingdra nails Aeolus with a nasty Ice Beam, though it graciously doesn't crit, so we survive as Ludicolo sets up a Rain Dance. But then Gastrodon hits Aeolus with an Ice Beam, marking the very first death of the Elite Four. That's just brutal. Using Zapdos before Malva and Wigstrom will make those two fights significantly harder, but that's a problem for the future. Because right now I gotta figure out how to close out this battle that's quickly getting away from me. At the very least, I can bring Erebus back in to regain control of the weapon. And on the next turn, Seabold heals both Gastrodon and Kingdra, which means that Fanes can kill Gastrodon with a Horn Leech and get all the way back to full HP. A Dark Pulse from Thanatos brings Kingdra back into the yellow, before Ludicolo predictably sets up another Rain Dance. But Erebus is now there to set up Sunny Day once again. Blastoise is Seabold's final Pokemon, and at the beginning of the next turn, he Mega Evolves. I have Erebus go for a Protect as Fanes hits Blastoise hard with a Horn Leech, and then Thanatos kills Kingdra with a second Dark Pulse. Then both Blastoise and Ludicolo get into Erebus' Protect with Aura Sphere and Focus Blast respectively. With that, I switch Erebus into Asclepius and kill Mega Blastoise with a second Horn Leech and Oblivion Wing Ludicolo from across the battlefield. Then a Focus Blast misses Asclepius, so with one last Moonblast from Fanes on the next turn, Ludicolo falls, and we've beaten the second member of the Elite Four. Without Aeolus, Malva and her fire types are pretty damn scary. Specifically her Ho-Oh. Aeolus was my only resistance into that thing's Brave Birds, so now we gotta get a little lucky. To kick things off, Malva leads with Ninetales and Reshiram, as I lead with Asclepius and Thanatos. Ninetales sets up the sun with Drought, but then a Sucker Punch into Reshiram, followed by an Expert Belt boosted Earthquake, is enough for the double KO. That brings in Chandelure and Ho-Oh. Not exactly the best combination of Pokemon to face up against, but we'll need to make do. I switch Asclepius into Anthea to set up the rain. Then Thanatos goes for a Rock Slide to use up Ho-Oh's Charty Berry and to pop Chandelure's Air Balloon. It's a small miracle that Thanatos doesn't get burned by the follow-up Sacred Fire from Ho-Oh or the Heat Wave from Chandelure. Anthea does, but that doesn't really matter. I switch her back into Asclepius, anticipating a Brave Bird into that slot. Chandelure goes for Protect, meaning that my Dark Pulse is a whip. Then my heart drops as Ho-Oh flies to Thanatos with a Brave Bird. We're very lucky to survive in the yellow, because had that Brave Bird crit, that would have been the end of the run. Thanatos is essential to beating Diantha. With my 2 flying types still alive, I can get a double KO on the following turn. Strength from Asclepius into Ho-Oh, and Dark Pulse from Thanatos into Chandelure. But now we've got a new problem as Malva brings in her Charizard and her Heatran. Charizard will Mega Evolve, activating the Sun with her new Drought ability. I can't safely go for the KO with Asclepius because Strength lowered my defenses, and Heatran will kill me with a Life Orb Flash. Thanatos also can't stay in, given how low their HP is, and without knowing what move Charizard and Heatran will go for, I don't really have a safe switch. It feels like I am completely pinned here. I don't know if this is objectively the correct play, but I decide to switch Thanatos into a Erebus. Malva Mega Evolves to set up the Sun, and Asclepius goes for a Protect. Charizard then straight up misses an Air Slash into a Erebus, but more importantly, Heatran tries to target down Asclepius, meaning that my play, with the benefit of hindsight, was the correct one. On the next turn, I switch Asclepius into Anthea, who does set up the rain, though that's immediately changed into Sand with a Mega Evolution from Erebus. The result is that both of my Pokemon are able to easily shrug off the double hit that comes their way. Once again, I lucked out that Erebus didn't get burned, because she can now kill Mega Charizard Y with another Strength. With Malva down to just her Heatran, I can double switch to Fanes and Asclepius as Heatran goes for a soft Earth Power into Fanes. And then, with a final switch of Fanes into Thanatos, Asclepius gets the KO with an Earthquake, winning us the sweatiest battle so far. One wrong turn there, and that fight could have quickly turned into a total disaster. The final fight of the Elite Four is the rotation battle against Wigstrom. Possibly the most frustrating part of this fight is that he leads with a Prankster Klefki that can fire off priority Thunder Waves and Swaggers, so a random, poorly timed paralysis or confusion could really throw a wrench into things, and it's very hard to play around it. But I'm gonna try my best. In addition to Klefki, Wigstrom leads with Empoleon and Ferrothorn. I lead with Thanatos, Anthea, and Asclepius. The goal is to pop Klefki's Air Balloon with Anthea as quickly as possible, and then sweep with Choice Banded Earthquakes from Asclepius. It's not exactly the perfect strategy, since we can still get Swagger, and if Empoleon gets off an Agility before we can kill him, then Ice Beams are a huge issue. But just as a reminder, this is all random anyway, so I'm just going for it. After a few turns of rotating around unsuccessfully, Klefki comes in to hit Anthea with a Thunder Wave. A held Bumberry restores the paralysis, letting me safely retaliate with an Icy Wind to pop the pesky Air Balloon. Then from there, it's off to Asclepius. Klefki graciously stays in and fails a Thunder Wave, meaning that he becomes the first knockout of the fight. That brings in Dialga fourth, but Wigstrom then rotates to Empoleon, who also goes down to a Choice Banded Earthquake. Fifth is Aegislash, who immediately attempts a King Shield, but since Earthquake doesn't make contact, we're totally fine. A rotation to Dialga means that the God of Time is our third victim, which is just about as perfect as I could have hoped for. Because now that Wigstrom's final Pokemon Aggron comes in, I'm risking Asclepius to an Ice Punch, so it's time for him to take a break, and for Thanatos to rotate in. With Choice Specs and the Dark Aura boost, Dark Pulse is just enough to get a clean one-hit kill on Wigstrom's mighty Mega Aggron. Honestly, I'm pretty surprised by that count too. Anyways, it should be less surprising that Dark Pulse can also kill Ferrothorn, who ate an Earthquake before we killed Klefki, and then Aegislash, who obviously takes super effective damage. So just like that, the Elite Four of Eternal X has been defeated, and we're off to face down Diantha and her team that was created by a 14-year-old on Pokemon Showdown. As longtime viewers of the channel know, I've got a tradition when it comes to Kalos playthroughs, and just because this is a ROM hack doesn't mean that we're bucking that tradition. So, once again, it's time for the latest entry into the FCPU. Oh, and in case you want to see the actual footage from this battle, there's an unlisted video in the description down below. Let's rock and roll! Diantha leads with Genesect, and I lead with Asclepius. Genesect is holding a choice scarf, so Asclepius baits them into going for Ice Beam. This gives me a safe-ish switch into a Rebus, who can take the hit pretty well thanks to the special defense boost from our Sandstorm. Of course, we will need to dodge freezes. The Ice Beam on the Switch does not freeze, but believe it or not, the second one does, and with that, so too do our chances at defeating Diantha. Sight! Rebus is holding a Lump Berry. I learned from my mistakes. This means we can safely get off a Stealth Rock. Of course, Ice Beam could freeze again on the following turn, but thankfully it doesn't. It does get a critical hit, and then we roll with a Fire Punch, meaning that Genesect survives the turn, but Diantha simply uses a full restore, and then our second Fire Punch manages to crit for the one-shot. That was way too close, but a Rebus lives with just 42 HP. She baits in Blaziken, whose focus dash gets broken by Stealth Rock. I switch to Asclepius on a high jump kick, though all the damage is restored thanks to Poison Heal and Leftovers. With Speed Boost, Blaziken outspeeds us on the following turn, but she just goes for a Swords Dance before we strike her down with a single Earthquake. Third then is Zygarde, which means that Asclepius has to pull through for us one last time. And Ice Fang connects for quad-effective damage, bringing Zygarde into the yellow. Then Diantha sets up a Dragon Dance. I'm hoping she just goes for another one, but instead, a massive +1 Outrage comes our way, and I fear this is the end of my most beloved teammate. But Asclepius holds on with 75 HP and connects with a second Ice Fang to get our third KO of the match. So fourth is Lugia, a bulky monster with access to Toxic, Roost, Whirlwind, and Extra Sensory. But with that moveset, as long as we don't get poisoned, Lugia can't touch my two Dark types. So it takes a lot of careful switching and some patient PP stalling, but eventually I can bring Thanatos in and kill the Guardian of the Seas with a Choice Band boosted Foul Play. That then brings in the fearsome Arceus fifth. With a moveset of extreme speed, Swords Dance, Recover, and Earthquake, this literal god is a force of nature and could easily sweep my entire team if I'm not careful. But the thing about gods is that they're greedy. Take and they never think about consequences. They've grown so accustomed to their unquestioned rule that they can't fathom their own mortality even if it's staring them straight in the face. Just like the men who pretend to be them, gods are vain, lazy, and reckless creatures. So it should come as no surprise that Arceus goes for a Swords Dance, boosting their already massive attack stat by 2 stages. And so, with a single Choice Band boosted Foul Play, Thanatos uses Arceus' own attack stat against them, getting a clean one-hit kill. All hail Thanatos, god of death. With Diantha's god slain, she's left with just her Mewtwo. They'll outspeed and I'm locked into Foul Play thanks to Choice Band, so I have to first switch out into Fanes. Mewtwo Mega Evolves and then Ice Beam hits decently hard, but now Fanes baits Diantha's Jimmy Neutron Fetus into going for Psy Strike, which grants me a completely safe switch back into Thanatos. And then, driven by the desire to avenge all 4 of their fallen teammates, Thanatos fires off a Choice Band boosted Priority Sucker Punch, cleanly one-shotting Mega Mewtwo Y and winning us not just the battle against Diantha, but all of Eternal X on the very first attempt. That was a lot of fun. I love the aesthetic of the Kalos games, so it was nice to play through an actually challenging version of them. I also really enjoyed using Pokemon that I don't normally use. Some of the legendaries did feel a little busted at points, but there were still plenty of challenges, especially in the early to mid-game. I've said it before, but I much prefer ROM hacks that introduce more options to the player, as opposed to the ROM hacks that artificially increase difficulty by restricting the players. Eternal X definitely adheres much more closely to that former philosophy. Arguably, you get a few too many resources, though I do think that the overall power level of the game, especially in the Pokemon League, helps balance that out. Is the balancing perfect? No, but balancing rarely is. And even though the game does give you these incredible tools, you still need to not mess it up. Which is a lot easier said than done over the course of an entire playthrough. People see the death count or the attempt number and then they assume that the game is easy, but they don't really realize how long it takes to devise battle plans or how difficult it is to adapt on the fly when things inevitably go wrong. It's something that I think a lot of people forget when they write nasty comments about using legendaries or over-preparing for battles or whatever. Just remember that everyone can play how they want, and the cool thing about YouTube videos like this one is that no one is forcing you to watch them. Go ahead and close the video, play the game yourself, and upload your own content. I promise that I won't write a comment on you if you don't write one on mine. Anyways, sorry for that tangent. It's been a long summer, guys. For the 99.9% of you that
Let's go.
aren't miserable, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching, it'd be great if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. Or don't, I don't know. But I do know that you should follow me on Twitter and Twitch to keep up with streams of my future Raw Pack challenges. You should also subscribe to my highlights channel to get highlights of the challenge I'm currently streaming before it's cut down to a video on the main channel. And you should also consider subscribing to my Patreon or becoming a channel member on YouTube, which are the best ways to directly support the channel. The links to everything are in the description below. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.
Souveräner Start. Egal.
Ich suche noch was fürs Abendessen.
Wie wär's mit Porterhaussteak am Knochen gereicht?
Shit.
We can get them after, it's not that big a deal.
Hi everyone. I got the thumbs up while we were talking. How's everyone enjoying SGDQ so far? Hope everyone's enjoying it. Yeah, come on crowd, come on. So I'm sure a lot of you already know who I am. I am Kizaron, the perennial Games Done Quick failure. So we're actually not going to start time right away. I'm going to show you how to count to 17. Hopefully I do it right.
You guys remember when Kizaron roasted me for counting to 17 at GDQ?
So what we're actually doing here is I'm trying to set up some ID minutes so I can cheat later and win the Master Ball for free, which I was supposed to hide and act all shocked. We'll just do it anyway. So now we gotta count 1, 2, 3, 4. This is absolutely necessary, by the way. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Get ready for time. 16, 17, and time. Woo! So there's a lot of very 7. Okay. There's a lot of really specific stuff going on right now, so I gotta set my time at a certain time, and then I gotta do it within like a certain amount of frames and whatnot. Bomb or Poke Guy could explain that while I mash mindlessly.
So we've got some manipulation going on for various things throughout the run, but this game has a real-time clock going, and the game is constantly reading from and writing to its real-time clock. So we need to set the real-time clock to start at a very specific position. You need to have your game start you need to set the clock a minute after the game starts, and Kizaron did just hit the ID minute.
So unfortunately, I know one of the funnest donation incentives for Pokemon is naming your trainer. We absolutely need to name ourselves one character. So unfortunately, we're just going to be A. I know it's pretty boring, but we get to make it up with other donation incentives. So if you guys haven't been donating yet, now's your chance to do it. Also, don't forget that... Oh god. Mom, no please. Don't forget that we do have a bonus run after this that hasn't been met yet. It's Pokemon Crystal Glitched by Poke Guy, so definitely get those donations in. Coming up next here, I'm actually going to try and manipulate a Totodile. So it is a 1-frame trick. I gotta make sure I mash properly once I get to that point. My A button has been going absolutely haywire, so you know that should be fun. You're also just gonna see me kind of turn my head a lot every now and again because I gotta make sure I start my timers and stuff. I'm a cheater that has a laptop up here with some notes and my timers and everything, so sorry, Reddit.
It's like a frame perfect A press after 11 seconds, and it's very hard to time without an actual timer.
Yeah, and after you hit continue, you have to clear all the text boxes perfectly as well.
Yeah, I think it's 3 frame perfect inputs for Totodile.
Just 1 frame perfect, but then all the text boxes are 5 each.
Yeah.
We do need Totodile nickname ready as well. So, whoever has that.
Yep. It looks like the Totodile name will be Carapuce. That's C-A-R-A-P-U-C-E.
I already know that was early.
Yeah.
The heck word did you say?
I hope I said it right too.
I'll spell it out.
Yeah, I'll have you spell it. That felt either good or late, so we'll find out. Well, I mean, A button just failed anyway. Shen, get your controller ready just in case.
Yeah, I got ya.
We do have a backup controller. Like I said, my A button has been on the fritz, so if you need to get up and pee, now's a good time.
It's really just this manip that's an issue with the A button. You want to swap?
Yeah. This is sad. This isn't a meme, I swear. Why is your A button so much nicer than mine?
Because I treat my controllers with love.
And I still mess up. Okay, now that one's on me. I can't even reset with yours. What the heck? Alright, you know what? I'm just gonna suffer it. I promise we'll get this in the next, 3 minutes. It's the most boring part. For the most part. Yeah.
That looked good.
Alright, so hopefully I actually entered the game correctly.
Do you guys all the name for the Totodile?
It is Carapuce. C-A-R-A-P-U-C-E.
Dear God, please. Peace. Alright, now I really hope I got it. During practice, I've been anywhere between on time to 1 frame early or late. I wouldn't be surprised if this is early. If I take too long to get it, then we'll just suffer a bad Totodile for a while and just kind of adjust on the fly.
Good start.
Easy.
Good.
So, a lot of people are familiar with the term IVs, or individual values. Gen 1 and 2 of Pokemon have DVs, which is determinant values. So there's 0 through 15 as opposed to 0 through 31. The higher the number is, the higher your growth overall is. This Totodile is actually ridiculously strong. It's 15 in everything except defense. I'm gonna do another manip. If I mess this one up, then it's no big deal. I'm trying to show off encounterless manip here, so hopefully that goes okay.
Yeah, depending on what frame you hit, you have to do different movements. It's kind of difficult.
Bro.
I should be fine, so we don't really need any serious time or whatever. But yeah, so it's a 3-frame window. So as Shen was saying, oh my God, controller please. All right, so we're not gonna do it again. We'll just suffer. Fun fact for those at home: I am running with a GameCube D-pad. Don't run with a GameCube D-pad. Okay, I got the manip until I messed up, but so it's a 3-frame window. And you kind of just base where you are based on the NPC's movement. So since that NPC was looking up and then turned left, I knew that I was on the 2nd frame of the 3-frame window. I believe it's either that one or the next frame where you can't possibly fail it. These manips aren't exactly 100% safe. So there's something called IGT, which one of you could explain.
Yeah, so you've got the game's in-game timer, and it's constantly counting. It actually counts frames, though you can't see that on the screen. And when you save, it locks in a certain value for the frame and so on. And if that value happens to be one of a number of arbitrary bad values, then you can't hit the manip and you'll get a random encounter or whatever without having to screw up the movement like Keith did.
Yeah, it's usually pretty low chance,
Getting
but
so punished.
well, Also, you found the Poliwag, which is great later, but terrible now because you're slower than it. But you need it for.
This is actually like a really good example of why like we have encounters too. Like I'm getting absolutely bodied. That's been 4, and I still have a chance for potentially 3 more. Also, I'm still trying to do the like encounterless movement, even though I don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm getting punished for that too. So that's what 5 encounters.
What's weird about the encounterless movement? A lot of the time, you like take extra steps in grass, which seems counterintuitive, but for the encounterless, it doesn't matter.
Hey, just pretend like I got no encounters. We did it, clap.
Base 5 encounterless minute.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We're just gonna get all the valuable criticals that we need, and so on and so forth. So something to point out. We did have the gold race last GDQ, and you might be thinking, oh, we're doing another Gen 2 game. Crystal's different enough to where there's like vast differences. In fact, your end game's completely different. So they had Feraligatr at the end, and they had like a scary red fight, so on and so forth. I cheat. I went into Master Ball and I use Raikou. Legendaries are balanced. We actually did have an older route. Once we discovered that we could manipulate stuff like the Master Ball lottery and whatnot, we did have an older route that utilized Entei, and Entei actually has a better top end, but Raikou on average is what, 30 seconds faster or something like that, yeah. So we go with the safe thing. Also, Raikou is just a baller. Like Raikou is so good that if you have 0 DV speed, which is the worst speed obviously, you still outspeed everything in the run. Whereas Entei is just...
Yeah, static speed's like really broken in the first few gens.
I was about to say, look, encounterless. That's okay.
I was fully expecting another Poliwag.
His ass is my mood. Sorry, GDQ.
The reason,
Ja.
the
Wegen
reason
dem
that you use
Tod.
legendaries in Crystal but not in Gold is because in Gold the burnt tower is optional.
Wir sind
and it's
aktuell bei
required in Crystal, so you have to
58.
release
Also
them
wenn wir das
anyway,
so
so it becomes
durchziehen,
worth to catch them.
sind wir bei
It's
48.
part of the plot in this game for some reason.
Also, if the audio sounds a little wonky to you, which I'm actually going to fix the next time I get into my menu, it's because the manip for Totodile actually requires you to have stereo. Something I didn't point out when I was doing the 17 resets was I did something called fast menu, which was discovered by Ty Kevin. So if you buffer your inputs when you enter the options menu, you can actually set everything the direction that you hold. So I was buffering with the left input, so all my options got set to the left. So I had fast text set up. I unfortunately have stereo, which like I said is unfortunately required for the Totodile manip. But my good buddy Stringflow on the back couch said that I can change it after this, so if it's wrong... Also, this is actually like going amazingly well.
Oh my god.
And then now it's going amazingly horribly.
He's risking it too.
So if he crit me again, I would have died. That was like, he usually growls, so it's usually like, yeah, clap. What an amazing fight.
If that crit, I was gonna laugh.
If that crit, I was gonna be pissed at you because all during practice, Shen's like, I want all the worst things to happen to you. Which, kinda same, not gonna lie. We do have some time for a couple of donations here. I'm just gonna be talking to Elm.
Absolutely. We have a $25 donation from Sam Leonhardt saying, Pokemon Crystal was the first video game I owned and the first Pokemon game where I got a level 100 Pokemon, Typhlosion. Go Fire Squad! Also, Deltarune was my first speedrun, so tonight is going to be an awesome night reviewing my firsts. Thank you very much, Sam. We also...
Sorry, I do have to interrupt. Rival name?
Oh, yes. So the winning rival name is Keanu. Keanu. However, I need to point out, it only won by $66 because the Pokken tournament community donated $1,000.
Wow.
Well,
And they said, hi, GDQ, stay awesome and punny. Donation goes towards naming the rival Mutator for winning the North American Championships. Please go back to playing Krogunk. But it is Keanu, so...
well, that'll stay in our hearts, but bless Keanu. Can we get another cheer for that, please? Alright, so we're getting Pokeballs right now, which would have been nice earlier because we did run into that Poliwag. Now, Poliwag's a really valuable addition to the team, mainly because it can learn Whirlpool and Waterfall, Waterfall being the most important part. It If I don't run into one, it's a little slower, but we do have backup for that later. So there's a chance that the Poliwag donation incentive could be anytime from now until like, I don't know, 2 hours from now.
Yeah, it can happen any time, which is kind of funny.
Right, hopefully my D-pad lets me do this.
This will be the last minute for a pretty long time.
I forgot to change it, no. Oh, you get suffer. Well, it's the same frame.
Krieg ich den
Hopefully I
noch?
don't mess that up, huh?
Ja, schade.
So I'm gonna deal with... Aha! We did it! We went the right way, clap. Go keys indeed. Whoever said that in the crowd, you're my friend. So, some of these manips, you have to do what I just did right there, where you pause the game and then unpause it. It just lets frames roll over enough to where you avoid encounters and whatnot. This particular manip that I got actually has 3 pause buffers, so it's actually, in my opinion, the worst of the 3 because it's obnoxious. But we should be fine here. I don't remember this movement, but it doesn't matter because I did it! Oh, encounter list, go me, dab on the haters. Reddit's gonna love me.
You get the crit minute as well?
Yeah, watch this. Yeah. So I manipulated the crit like in gold, except not really. Hold on. Did it work? So I'm totally lying to you, there's no crit minute for Crystal yet, but yeah, I would've looked really cool if I did. So throughout the run, if you didn't see the gold run and GDQ, throughout the run, until we get to Raikou, you're going to see me utilize Totodile and exclusively Totodile, other than one fight where I use a Spearow. That fight's really cool. I'll talk about that when we get to it. But Totodile is used over all the other starters because Chikorita, as adorable as it is, just doesn't have the offensive capabilities to take care of the early game. Cyndaquil would be used if it weren't for the fact that Totodile has this move right here, Rage. Rage is busted AF. It's so good. You get stacks every time you get hit. The stacks don't ever stop. This encounter's garbage unless it's Poliwag. You ruined my monologue. Oh, never mind. You're a friend. Hey! You know what this means? 5 deaths to Whitney. I am gonna play it safe and go for the second scratch. If I crit it, I'll be a little sad, but it won't be like a huge deal.
No.
Okay, good.
Okay, wir spielen safe.
So like Poliwag is notoriously annoying to catch. I can't wait until we come up with a manipulation to catch it, but it just loves to wait until the 3rd shake and then pop out. I was expecting it to do it right there. So Poliwag name, please.
It is D-E-E.
No.
Okay. Let's go D.
Thanks for making us go faster with a quick name.
Yeah, so we actually nickname Totodile and Poliwag one character just like the trainer because we use them enough to where it saves enough frames to save time in the
Wir heilen
run.
uns.
I don't know if 3 characters for Poliwag is going to save time. It doesn't really matter, but that's like a curiosity thing more than anything.
Yeah.
I'm sure Stringflow can yell and answer.
Oh,
No. He yelled no. Thank you, Stringflow. Yeah, so it's actually kind of hard for me to pick a couch to represent the game because these are all fantastic runners behind me, and then the back couch has a ton of people that are really good runners or put in a ton of work. Like Stringflow in general, I keep shouting out. Between him, Lucky Typhlosion, and Enter Penter, I don't need you anymore. Between those 3, like they've done so much for the Pokemon speedrunning community, and just in general, like I think all speedrunning communities really need to give more props and shout-outs to their routers and their glitch hunters and stuff, because you got us who's doing the runs, but like a lot of times we're not the ones that put forth all that hard work and effort. Everything that I'm showing off here, except for how bad I am at getting encounters, Stringflow or Enter Penter. Like, can we just give them a round of applause? Like they definitely deserve it. So here's something that was introduced in Gen 2. It wasn't in Red, Blue, or Yellow, but we do have berries. You can actually equip items, which is so common nowadays that you wouldn't think that, oh man, that's a new feature. But, God, my mood. Stop showing up. But yeah, so we actually utilize berries throughout the run. We utilize Bitter and Paralyzed Cure, just so we can, like, you know, try to waste as little time as possible. It's worth picking them up, even though sometimes they're a little bit out of the way, sometimes they're not really, but it takes forever to pick them up. It's like 5 seconds or something to pick them up. It's pretty obnoxious.
They're pretty necessary though with how many places you can get status.
Oh, absolutely. So this is going to be the first save of the run. This guy has a level 9 Spearow that if he crits you, it really freaking hurts. Also, for the sake of everyone's ears... much better. Sorry, power up audio. Man, that's so much nicer. The problem with the audio stuff is stereo gets rid of a ton of the bass, so it just has no skeleton or backbone, and it's just disgusting sounding. Yeah, so this fight actually shows off like why Rage is so good. In fact, this entire gym, we're only going to use Rage unless there's like a really edge case here. So, as I mentioned before, every time you get hit after you use Rage, your Rage gets stronger and stronger, so you do more and more damage. So we did a tiny bit there, now we're going to do a little bit more. Now we're going to do even more. Our berry is going to activate, which is going to be nice because it'll knock us up to 17 health. And this is one of those fights where you really need that extra health. Back when we didn't use the Manipulate Totodile, there were certain thresholds where you take 8 damage instead of 6. And so you essentially needed 33 plus HP to make it through the fight. You obviously don't have 33 right now, so that berry kind of just counts as a temporary plus 10.
Something really nice about this gym is they're all bird keepers, and they have a really weird AI that makes them always attack. So this fight would be terrible without that AI mechanic, because these Pidgeys have sand attack, but you just can't see it.
Yeah, and like, I think the Cyndaquil route, when you face Faulkner's Pidgeotto, he uses Mudds?
What, baby?
I can't remember.
I think he does.
I can't remember, it's like a guaranteed usage, or if he's just like, oh, I'll use it. Oh, no, I won't. No, I'll use it anyway. But yeah, like, Cyndaquil, I'm not really, like, familiar with the route, but from what I remember, you actually have to fight an extra trainer before you enter this gym, too. So that kind of just shows, like, how ridiculously strong Rage is, and how essentially game-breaking it is.
Yeah, I think you do part of Sprout Tower or something.
Yeah, like, you fight, like, the first trainer.
Yeah,
I think it is.
I think that's what it is.
Now, the one downside about Rage is every time you get hit, you get that Rage is building thing. And I did mention that there's some edge cases where you wouldn't use Rage in this gym. One being if you knock that Spearow into red health, you just switch to Scratch, because Spearow's faster than you, and if you switch to Scratch, you don't get those text boxes anymore. Might as well equip this since I'm in the menu anyway.
Do we have time for a quick donation? Oh, absolutely. We have a $1,337 donation.
Heck yeah.
From Sean D04 saying, good luck, Keys. Don't forget, this isn't a randomizer, so you can't get a level 4 Mewtwo here. Love GD2 and all you do so much for charity. Let's get that glitched run going. And on that note, we are just under $7,000 away from that glitched run, so we still have time, but time flies by fast. So please get those donations in if you want to see that glitched bonus run.
It's worth it, guys. Trust us.
It's gonna be a blast to watch. Like, if you enjoy watching Pokemon Crystal for the Game Boy Color, then boy howdy, you're gonna enjoy it being done super fast.
Why play for 3.5 hours when you can play for 10?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, the Pidgeotto didn't crit. If the Pidgeotto crit that turn, then we could have been at risk of death, but the fight's free from here. So, go team, we did it. Let's go, Carapace? Is that how you say that? Carapace? Yeah. I hope we're all saying it wrong. Yeah, so that's the first gym. We're on our way. 15 more to go. And being lame and taking a quick peek at my time right. Oh god.
I think it was like third or fourth right to the dial, so most of it was that.
Yeah, like we're about 3 to 4 minutes behind where I want to be, but my practice runs were generously underestimated, so there shouldn't be a problem. TM.
Except for the one.
Except for the one. I can't wait for Whitney to just... So we'll talk about her at great length once we get to her, but everyone who casually plays this game remembers the Whitney fight. It's just... Man, it hurts us as much as it hurt you, trust me. For different reasons, though. Most people had problems with the Miltank. Also, shoutouts to WSOP for pointing this out.
Yeah, it's a really cool strat.
So, in Generation 2, all the way up until right before Let's Go, if you deposit a Pokemon, it heals it. So, we don't want this egg to hatch because it's just going to waste time. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to 1, heal our Totodile, and 2, deposit the egg. It's pretty handy. I don't remember how much faster it is, though. I half pay attention to W-stop. Sorry, buddy. And we actually keep the Poliwag up front until we have to menu again, because unless you run into a Ghastly, Poliwag actually outspeeds everything on this route, so it's actually super duper convenient. And he also has a shorter cry than Totodile as well, so if you do run into an encounter, you save a tiny bit of time overall.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't get repels until the next route, and it's not enough grass steps to warrant a manipulation here, so you just kind of go. Good start.
Alright, at least it was second tile and not first, so we made some progress. Now, because we do have the route change, and it's so funny, since we do have the route change to Raikou instead of Totodile, if this were the older route, I'd kind of be celebrating finding a Bellsprout, because that could be the Pokemon we use for cut. But we use Totodile for that now, because Totodile is just a glorified HM poke. Also, I'm gonna pick this up because it's me at a GDQ. So I rather not die. There's no punish. There we go, we did it.
There's some spinners coming up, so it's good to have the potion in case he hits 1 or 2 of them.
Easy.
Oh.
No fear. He can't live in fear of the spinners yet.
Tell me when you get to Anthony.
Yeah, no kidding. So, somebody want to talk about what spinners are real quick?
Okay, so
Okay.
spinners are trainers that randomly spin in all 4 directions, and you can't control them at all. Oh, nice. Except when that happens.
Yeah,
they suck, and then you can pass.
Oh, my Polybot's up front still.
Yeah, you forgot to switch them.
Alright. If I get punished,
You
can run
repel.
from that.
Oh wait, yeah. Okay.
He repelled, he just didn't switch.
Alright, don't mind this. Don't mind this.
So for passing spinners, they generally have 2 linked directions. So if they face up, they're more
Ich
likely to
gucke
spin
erst, wenn ich
left,
gesplittet
down or
habe.
right, and vice versa. So you try to pass them when they're facing in a
muss
favorable direction, and that gives you a high
einiges
chance of
Plus
passing them, and
gemacht
that's
haben.
basically all you can do.
They also only spin like every 4 frames, right?
Ich bin am Überlegen, ob ich überhaupt gucke.
Yeah, so if you get like a lucky pause, like right as they spin, that can also help with passing. So that's what I think
You want to
these
pass them
are
as
do.
soon after they spin as possible.
Yeah.
Now, something to point out here, too, is this is actually an optional trainer. So we're actually fighting him because we need the experience. If we don't fight an optional trainer, after we beat Bugsy, before Rival 2, we will still be a Totodile. We stand basically no chance of beating Totodile. It can happen with Totodile. It's not going to happen here. So, since we dodged that spinner, we're fighting this guy. Eventually, there's going to be a route change where we fight somebody else, but that unfortunately was not ready for this marathon, and even if it were, I don't think I would have had enough time to practice it comfortably.
Yeah, I think the idea is to manipulate this whole cave, and with manipulating it, you can also manipulate the spinners, so you wouldn't even have to worry about hitting them all the way up to Azalea Town.
Oh, bait.
That's a risky pass.
I mean, I am saving, so I'm gonna. Yeah, he just turned, so we'll take the risk. Game's easy.
Nice.
Yes, I skillfully dodged. Please boost my ego. Clap more. There we go. Yeah. Woo! I mean, we did just watch a really, really awesome run. Awesome blindfolded run before this, so I'm really sorry that this is the follow-up. I'm so sorry. We're gonna try and make this exciting for you. Okay. Can you even see through those glasses? Alright, so kind of. Any movement mistakes, I'm gonna blame on that. I didn't hear what you said, but I agree. So we actually don't shop too much because of the Raikou route. We shop 3 total times. That's including this. And our money's pretty tight the first 2 shops, so you buy really specific items and whatnot. No, this is Slowpoke.
First try.
Anybody who has watched me practice this before knows how often I die to this fight, so I probably should have saved.
You just saved for Anthony, it's not that bad.
Let's just add another, 2.5 minutes. Yeah, 2.5 minutes. No big deal,
First
right?
You
drive.
the center.
No. Why would I do such a thing, Shen? Do I look like a weenie? I'm a weenie. So I would prefer if he didn't tail whip there, but, okay, well, that's not really helpful. That's really bad. Come on. Don't do this.
Nope, egal.
Why? Alright, well, I don't think we can die from here, actually, but that is not how you want the fight to usually go. You want to get those range stacks, and since we're speed tied with the Rattata, it's pretty much just... Unless he uses quick attack, you're not going to guarantee any range boost. Now, the good news is even with a crit, we're fine, but see, we're fine. We're fine. Go me. Just pretend I'm doing this blindfolded. 2 keys are wrong keys.
It's funny how many speed ties there are like this early on in the game, and with Rage, the speed ties can be really annoying.
Yeah, absolutely. With Faulkner's gym, that second trainer you could be speed tied with if you didn't have a manipulated Totodile, and that has always been frustrating. And then also, if you had really, really, really bad speed, then it's a speed tie or an outspeed outright against Rival 2's Bayleaf, which is the most dangerous Pokemon for this. Oh,
Bitterberry,
well,
turn 1.
see, that's why we have the Bitterberry Go team. Now, if we get the range here,
Egal.
now ranges are actually something really good to talk about, so I'm gonna throw that your way, Debom.
Alright, so every time we use an attack, it's not the same damage every time. There's a random roll, 1 out of 39 different values, and it will multiply the damage by that amount. And it just so happens that there is exactly 1 value that will give the highest damage, and generally we don't prepare for that damage happening to us unless we have the leeway to do it anyway. So sometimes you're just risking dying to a 1 in 39 damage roll, which is like a 2.5% chance. But in general, 1 in 39 is not usually bad, very rarely good.
Yeah. The biggest example of that's probably the Spearow in Faulkner's gym, because you have 25 health and he'll do 6 damage unless he crits or rolls the 1 in 39. So that's why you equip the berry for that fight.
So we have time for some donations here.
Absolutely, we've got a couple donations. Liquid Light gave us $50 saying, donating during the Pokemon Crystal run because this Gen 2 was my favorite Pokemon game, first Pokemon game, and Crystal is still one of my favorites.
Good choice.
Yes. Scootaloo Dash also donated $15 saying, I grew up with Pokemon, and to have a chance to donate for the first time at GDQ, I couldn't pass this chance up. By the way, what does a Pikachu with allergies say? Pikachu! I'll be here all night.
Oh, come on. Yeah, there we go. This is a fun zone, guys, despite popular belief.
Speaking of fun zone, do you want time for a fun donation?
Absolutely.
All
I
right.
do it myself anyway.
This was a personal request. We have a $10 donation from Letho saying to be sung to the tune of the Pokemon theme song. Here we go. We're about to see the best in this upcoming run.
Da, 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 da.
I don't think you'll catch them all, but listen, everyone.
Da, da, da.
He's our own, he'll go so fast. In Johto, he's unsurpassed. He's our own, oh, he will break through. His PB is GDQ. He's our own, only catch a few.
You have to be real careful feeding his ego like that.
Oh, no, keep it coming, please.
Please don't make me sing anymore.
So, shout out to...
You're amazing.
Shout out to Stay Hydrated Bot, by the way. Dude, these criticals.
Yeah, no kidding. That 2-power one was clutch because you were so confused.
In real life or in the game?
Yeah, probably both.
Yeah, you're right. Yes. So that well actually went pretty well. Hey. Drop me a follow.
Oh, God.
So this area in general, you can die, but it's not very likely. But this next gym, you absolutely can die because, reasons. cuffed?
Because rage is fun.
Rage is fun. So we don't have the bitter berry, which makes me sad. I want to use rage as much as possible because of a really cool strategy on the third rival fight. But since I don't have my bitter berry, I can't safely do it here. So I have to do the standard fight of just scratch a bug and then drown a bug. Pretty standard 10-year-old stuff, right?
Yep. Pretty much the last point in the run you can get confused is this ladybug. So if you manage to keep the bitter berry all the way here, which almost happened, but...
Ich hab grad eine fucking PB gemacht. Ich hab gerade eine fucking PB gemacht. Ich kann mich nicht mehr vernünftig freuen. Das ist 0 Uhr. Ich habe morgen Schule. Meine PB davor war 1,5. War 1,38, aber 1,48 oder so. Der Moonskip am Anfang hat halt durchgezogen. Ich glaube, das Video, was ich im Hintergrund geguckt habe, hat mich ein bisschen abgelenkt. Was absolut krass war, ich habe im Mond noch mal eine Minute rausgeholt und dann kann ich safe, ich kann überall noch was rausholen. Also Sub 1,30 könnte am Ende der Woche drin sein. Aber ich bleibe erstmal bei meinem Ziel Sub 1,35. Aber das ist krass, Junge. Ich zitter ein bisschen. Genauso wie meine Jerkons. Dann sehen wir uns an Tag 3.